Say you've got enough orbs of power and other resources to craft either Ctharrasque or Zuul'Goth, so who should it be? Both have similar kinds of mana cost, both have a similar kind of spell. They both kill an enemy absolutely outright and have a second part of their spell, which can actually backfire upon your team at the same time. Even the traits are kind of similar. So who's the best out of these and who should you craft first? Fight! Right, so before we look at a couple of battles, let's just go over both of these troops and the basic pros and cons of each. So Ctharrasque starts with 30 mana cost, Zuul'Goth has 32, which means this gives Ctharrasque a very slight edge at the beginning on that lower mana cost. They are both bosses, so they are both prone to being hit by Godslayers and killing them pretty quickly. And they both have Impervious, and they both have Manifestation, gain 5 to all skill points when matching skulls. So in those regards, they are completely and utterly tied. And they both kill an enemy. But this is where the second part of the spell comes into play, because Ctharrasque creates 6 Cursed Gems, which is brown and gives the effect of Cursed when matched, 6 Yellow Giant Gems, which gives more yellow when matched, and 6 Fairy Fire Gems, which will give the enemies 50% increased damage when inflicted by Fairy Fire. But it can backfire. If you cast that and it doesn't match those gems, which is entirely random, then if the enemy matches them, then your team could get afflicted by that. And indeed, Ctharrasque could be pretty badly affected by that himself or herself, whatever it is. I have no idea, because if those cursed gems get matched on Ctharrasque, then that Impervious gets taken away, making Ctharrasque a normal troop. So pros and cons to both. The good part of that spell is, if you get some matches, it can just self-charge and just do it again and just rip through an entire team so fast it is kind of crazy. But you do need a little bit of luck for that. So that's the good things and bad things about Ctharrasque. Zuul'Goth, slightly higher mana cost, as we said, very similar traits on the Impervious and the Manifestation, but Jinx is a much better first trait than Ctharrasque for me. Like, gain 2 life on 4 or 5 gem matches on Ctharrasque isn't going to make a huge difference most games, but that half gem mastery is literally halving the chance the enemy gets to take get a mana surge when matching their gems, which means potentially half the speed of getting their mana, which could make a massive difference to games. So for me, that is a better trait by some distance than Ctharrasque's, and it completely negates that very small mana cost of extra 2 that Zuul'Goth needs. The spell, kill an enemy, same as Ctharrasque, but burn and freeze all remaining enemies. There's less chance in that because you know that is going to happen unless they're impervious or invulnerable or indestructible. And create 12 skulls is the only thing which is against Zuul'Goth's spell, because if they match, happy days, you can actually wipe out enemies really quickly as well. But if they fail to align, then basically you can find yourself in a bunch of trouble and getting a lot of hits back, and maybe even lose a troop or two just because of the amount of skulls that could be left for the opponent. So it could work against you like that. But Ctharrasque, same sort of thing. Like I said, if you leave all those matches for the enemy and it charges up one of their troops, you could find yourself in an equal amount of bother. But this is where Zuul'Goth for me still has the edge, because it has a class advantage as well. If you use a Slayer class with Zuul'Goth, I'll show this in a minute, then you can really take advantage of this burn and freeze and just rip through the enemy really quickly with those skull hits when you get that killed. And also Zuul'Goth has another advantage as well in troops which are empowered. If we go to full, if we type in full, and we can see all the troops which start with full mana, then the ones which actually affect Zuul'Goth or benefit Zuul'Goth from the beginning, like this chance here to convert red to blue, versus ones which are good for Ctharrasque, there's 13 troops which are beneficial to Zuul'Goth and only 9 which are beneficial to Ctharrasque, again giving Zuul'Goth the edge on empowered troops which are good for its colours. Both can start with Leprechaun because it's got green, which is good for Ctharrasque, and purple, which is good for Zuul'Goth, so no advantage there. Right, so if one thing is certain, both these troops are absolutely awesome. You won't go far wrong with either of them, but as a player, if you can only afford one of these, then you definitely want to pick the one which is going to give you the best advantage in a game, and the one which is going to work more often than not. So let's take a look at both these troops in action now with those advantages I just spoke about. Right, so let's jump into Explore 12 then. Show what this can do if things go your way. Right, so we'll get that anyway, even though we don't use that, and cast Leprechaun. Janet is ready already. I like to call it Janet, so we can kill someone absolutely outright. You are dead. There we go. There's the self-charge. There's another dead. There's another self-charge. There's another one. That is literally what Ctharrasque can do when it's in a good mood. So let's take a look at Zuul in action. Now, neither of these teams are designed as ultimate iterations of Ctharrasque or Zuul'Goth teams, both designed simply to show the benefits of the way Ctharrasque can recharge itself and how Zuul'Goth can just smash through with triple skull damage skulls. Really effective. So let us get Zuuli charged up. Didn't get much mana from that first bit, but when it gets going, it will absolutely fly. So when we cast Zuul, we're going to get triple skull damage because all the enemies are going to be burning. And when that happens, look, you can just smash through so easy. It's great. So there you go. As you can see, both of these troops, when they're working well, absolutely fantastic. But we do have to come to a conclusion and decide who is best out of Ctharrasque, aka Janet, I like to call it, and Zuul'Goth, aka the moldy courgette, I'd like to call it as well. So we have to decide who would win if these two got on the boxing ring and had a massive punch up. Well, like I say, the advantage of Ctharrasque, that small mana cost reduction, is completely negated by the fact that Jinx is a far, far better trait than Ctharrasque's first trait, so that actually wins on that. And Impervious and Manifestation are kind of the same, but they're kind of not the same because Zuul'Goth gets 5 to all skill points when matching skulls. And if you should lose your top troop, then those extra skulls could come in handy if you actually have to hit with skulls yourself with Zuul'Goth, which is very useful. And you can protect yourself as well when you cast Zuul'Goth. If you make sure the top troop is entangled, when you cast Zuul'Goth or the next in line after the one you intend to kill with Zuul'Goth, if you leave a load of skulls behind, the retaliation from the enemy would not be so bad. There's no such way to protect from Ctharrasque's backfire of its spell unless you're fighting troops where basically you got the opposite of those colours which it generates, and therefore the mana gen wouldn't actually be beneficial to it. So again, pros and cons of both. But for me, this swings it around completely on a Slayer class. The fact this is so good on Slayer class is just a kind of a 10th round knockout for me. They're going like toe to toe throughout the battle, getting really close, but I think Zuul, with that Slayer class and where those skulls can align, and how you can protect it as well with a root trap or entanglement, things like that, I think Zuul gets the KO in the end. Yeah, for me, Zuul'Goth edges it. Let me know about this in the comments if you agree or not, or if you prefer Ctharrasque and why. But there's a video. If you enjoyed it, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching, and feel free to share the video around. It's things like that which help make the channel grow, and I appreciate it. But thanks for watching, and bye for now.